we're all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the king of podcasts.
The subject of tonight's program is a young lady based in Houston, Texas by the name of Robash. R-H-O-B-A-S-H-E. And she's a content creator. And she goes by, from correct, is Ro_reports is the name she goes by. There's a lot going on in the story that happened here. And I'm sure some of you already listened to it. I've already gotten maybe a little bit of insight into this so far based on what has been putting on TikTok. And let's just say that the culture on TikTok has been very much adamant in discussing this issue. And what I'm going to do, first of all, is play a clip as to the incident that caused this. Yes, her name on Instagram and on TikTok is RHO_reports. Robash is her name. And I'm going to just play this clip real quick.
Yo, this man just hit me in my face with a brick, and all these black men just watch, and they don't give a Yeah, this man hit me, grabbed a rock, and he hit me in my face because I would have given him my number. And all y'all just watch.
What you want to do?
What y'all do? I want y'all to be a man. I want y'all to be a man. Do something. Y'all gonna let a man hit me in my face.
So that's the clip that has been getting around a lot. This is one of the situations that's going on because of a moment that happened prior to where she has a thing on when she does content where she has guys that apparently tried to ask her out, get her phone number, and she rejected them, but not just rejected them verbally, but also slapped them in the face. So let's go to this part.
Or the fact that you're a white man and I'm a black woman, I have less privilege than you. Thank you.
There's one. And there's the one that's the most recent that she did where she slapped the guy in the face that has gotten a lot of attention.
And
after she does that, she twerks. And then there's another clip that's played around that people have been really getting into, which has been said to be indicative of what she really thinks about men and how she feels about women and just their place in society.
We are the innate protectors and the providers. We protect societies, we protect communities with our intellectual property, with our lived experiences, with our breast milk, with our bodies. We're the ones. And the two. Bitch, not even the three. Because men are not providers and protectors, not innately, because they only protect what they possess. But we protect everybody, and we provide, baby, okay?
Now, there's been a lot that's been said about the story. Let's just get into what was being talked about. Now, what we do know is that in the first clip I mentioned where she was complaining to the guys, and there were girls around as well, that were complaining about the fact that she had a bruise that was growing on the right side of her face. And she says that she was hit by a brick as a group of men watched on, saying to the camera, "Y'all, this man just hit me in my face with a brick, and all these black men just watch. This man grabbed the rock and hit me in my face because I wouldn't give my number." And she would yell to the crowd. We already talked about that. We heard that. And then she's wearing a hospital gown with the bump on her side of her face now growing a bit more. And the videos that I just played you have been going across social media all day, the last 48 hours, but we have seen nothing. Now, the Mirror US contacted the Houston Police Department to verify the claims, which they found out no police claims have been made, no charges have been filed, nothing, no report. There's a GoFundMe page that was created as a result, which was set up by her friend. Her TikTok account has been shut down or suspended, and TikTok has not come back to them for comment. And Robash said after 12 hours in the hospital, she was free to leave after being charged with a concussion. And as a result of the injury, she revealed she could not chew food for the next week. And her friend, Kiara Davis, claims onlookers stood by and did nothing to help her, even refusing to call an ambulance. And over 1,000 donations in the last 24 hours helped Roe raise $33,000. And his original target was $25,000. And her friend Kiara wrote on the page, Rhoda is a single mother and student. She's a beautiful person who is always there for others. Because of this vicious attack, she will have to manage hospital bills, therapy, and time away from work, school, and childcare where she heals mentally and physically. While she heals mentally and physically. Unfortunately, no one stepped in to help her that night. It would mean so much if we could step up and help her as she heals. And an update on Tuesday as I record this, the donations will help towards the single mom's health care bills. And she added, thank you for all the support so far. Rhoda is moved by her generosity. She has appointments with specialists over the next week, and her student insurance will not cover all of them. That's what we got. It's quite a story to have come up all here. I mean, we can try to find out more about her and where this all came from, but yeah, it's unclear if Rose's going to file a police report, And the conversation online has gone rampant. It's about discussions about the dangers of rejecting men's advances. In some of her online clips, the shaderoom.com explains that she talked about that she slapped 2 white men, and one in the name of reparations, and it was unclear if the videos were staged or pranks. They also do not appear to be taken on the same day of the assault or related in any way. Her self-proclaimed feminist identity and Somalian versus African-American identity were also the center of social media discussions. And there's a lot that was written about this, and you get both sides of the argument. It's pretty split. Now, I found the video of her in the hospital that got played, and I want to just go ahead and play it just for the fact that I want to go ahead and get the tone and where she was coming from when she put this video out here. The one thing that's very important is that she's not afraid to go ahead and go online with everything that happened to her. You know, the trauma was something that she feels like she needs to go and express online on Instagram and TikTok. So here's what it is.
What have I ever done to anybody in my life to deserve this? I never did anything in my life to hurt anybody. Literally, a man asked me for my number. I said no, and he picked up a brick in front of so many men and was like, what you gonna do? And I told all these men, like, yo, why this man got a brick on my face? And he's holding a brick, and all these niggas is watching, and nobody does nothing. And he hits me in my face, and then they all just watch, and they let that nigga get in a corner. How is this okay? This is what y'all doing to women?
Now, granted, she was upset, and that, you know, justifiably so. That last point she says is this is how men can go ahead and act towards women. Look, they tried to say that she had a concussion. She sounded pretty sound of mind when she talked about this. And then there's another person from Bossip that writes, that was actually commenting on X, a Carnegie Mellon Department of Modern Languages professor, Dr. Uju Anya. So a academic professional writes in and says, black men pulling stuff from black women's social media, they claim show she doesn't deserve protection when a black man smashed her face with a brick for not giving him her number. Now, here's another thing that somebody says is the fact that Robash is a PhD candidate, has her master's from an Ivy League, and has done more work in the Somali community than most of these incels harassing her. And if you look in here, I look here where they have documentation for her, and her name, Rhoda Hassan Osman, from the University of Texas at Austin. And then there's a talk about where she's in front of a graduate school of journalism building, talking about that she was a month away from getting her master's in science. And then she also was seen, she said, interviewing some elders, and also speaking with the oldest living man in Somaliland, walking strong at 120 years old. And also, she was writing a book, A Generation's Difference, where she was talking about her report in Somalia for her last 5 chapters, a semi-memoir biography of Anab Abdullahi, her mother, and a historical nonfiction of the Somali diaspora from 1990 after the Civil War. Okay. There's a lot being written here. But you know what? One of the things we got to talk about is the fact that there's so much information that we don't know about, and it takes so long for people to go ahead and find out what's actually happening here and being said. And so you have all this here. I'm not sure what to think of this young lady, because there's obviously 2 sides that everybody's trying to put these 2 different areas. But it doesn't make sense for the fact that she has all these credentials and she's working to make a career for herself. But then there's this other side of her that twerks after she slaps a guy in the face and she does that as a bit of a trend. And she also doesn't have any issues bashing men because she hates men for the most part. They're not protectors, not providers, and that women are better off protecting and providing for themselves. That's fine. Can we just say the dumb part out loud? Yes, you don't need to hit anyone with a brick. There's no ration for this young lady to be hit with a brick. And you know what? I can see both sides of the story. Single mom, she's trying to get herself through school. She is a Somali immigrant and she's into the country. I don't know what they're going to think of all this, but I feel sorry for her because she has a lot of things that were going on even before all this. And her reaction was a provocation for what happened to her. I mean, whatever that we see of her as evidence that she's doesn't have a lot of respect for men, and she doesn't want to be hit on. She doesn't want to be approached. Okay. So it's not right for a woman to go and slap a guy in the face. I'll tell you, I've had it done to me, but I didn't go hit anybody or retaliate. I mean, guys, the only way it can be done is, and I've heard it from enough TikTok videos or live streams that I was watching today and yesterday. Yeah. In the case of if a woman is going to have a blunt object or a deadly weapon on her and she's about to go ahead and maim you or kill you, then I think you're justified in self-defense. You're trying to protect yourself. It's self-defense. Self-defense, yes. But anything else, beyond, that's not beyond that, no. I mean, you can pacify the situation because a guy would normally be stronger, or you just walk away and just leave the situation. It's not a surrender. It's just, there's no logic there. It's all based on emotions. My thing is with this young lady, if she came from Somalia, what did she come from? What kind of trauma did she have emotionally that brought her to this point to where she feels that she doesn't feel like she can have any trust in men or feel like men are any good to her? I mean, that's one thing of not being attracted or being interested in men from a romantic standpoint or a sexual standpoint. Got it. Clear. That makes sense. But the hatred, it's that part of feminism I don't understand. Why it's got to be such a vile hatred. And unfortunately, the kind of hatred that she probably has towards men, this guy who could be an incel or a simp or some guy with, that toxic masculinity they always hear about, except for the fact that he probably has more feminine energy than masculine energy. He decided to do something that was really stupid and boneheaded. Like, there's no justification for her to get hit. None. But she didn't do herself any favors here at all because of the fact that the way she reacted and the way she has reacted, whether skit or not, for being asked. Like, it's a guy that, okay, maybe he wants sex, maybe he just wants something else, but you move along. I mean, guys are used to the fact of being rejected all the time. And if you're not, it should be a badge of honor for you guys, because if you are trying to pursue and you're looking for women that you're attracted to or you're interested in and you want to just hook up with or you want to be with, then yeah, rejection is normal. And ladies, and for this young lady here, yeah, there shouldn't be any issue with you putting a guy in his place and saying, okay, you're not interested in him, so piss off, fuck off, got it. But you don't have to go ahead and slap the guy after that. You don't have to twerk after that to also show like you got some dominance. Doesn't make a difference. But for whatever reason, a lot of people are looking for the most salacious stuff, sure. And there's all this other stuff that's going on with her that is a different side of her. And as far as I know, I don't know if she's necessarily taking too much to notice what she is, who she is, and, reflecting the real part of her that's really wonderful. I don't know about that part either. Now, one of the things we learned about is that Row_reports was actually hacked to 37,000 followers. And there's a lot of things that she says here. Like, really, when you look at her backstory and what she's gone through, she already has 19,000 followers coming back. And she has a number of things when it comes to what she talks about. Being Ivy League, getting a PhD, #sober life, among other things. But the thing too is that her feelings as well is that she doesn't make a difference where she just wants women to go ahead and not have any responsibility or accountability for how they look or what they do, or realizing what the repercussions are of that. There's another video I could play of that where she kind of makes that point, refusing to tell her niece to behave and dress modesty. The niece probably is like 5 or 6 years old, maybe not even, maybe like 3, 4, 5 years old. And her and then some other family member or some friend, they are twerking. F punishing little girls living in their joy and shame grown men for even having the audacity to express their perversion towards children. I will not adultify my niece. I will not shrink my niece. I will not make her aware of the male gaze. There's a lot of anger in her, unfortunately. And that's what sucks. Like, I just wish I knew what it was. But now there's a lot to her where she likes to go ahead and express her sexuality. She likes to play different areas. Like in some cases, she wants to be the Somali immigrant, the Ivy League graduate, or the soon-to-be Ivy League graduate. But then there's this sexy side of her that she wants to put out as another persona. There's a lot to her that, you know, she just wants to go ahead and do what she wants. She can be the kind of person she wants to be, and that's it. But she wants attention. Let's make that clear, too, because everything that she has right now, she puts up pictures that are thirst traps, and there's other videos that are very advocacy-like, and there's other comments that she has. She has all these different things she wants to do. Fine. And then she'll tell you, she says she'll take a break from social. She'll come back. And she's sad and yet empowered to find out I really don't have any friends, just people who use my resources and energy. Time to run it back. I guess she's been pretty troubled with what she's gone through. And it's a shame to hear that about her. But for her, I wish her the best. And I hope she can find some peace and she can find something that just makes her realize that maybe not all guys in the world are horrible. Like, I know that you don't want the kind of attention from guys that they would look at a woman they would find attractive or appealing or desirable, and they go ahead and go. But man, there's another thing about reacting the way it is. And as for the guys, no excuse for reacting in such a barbaric sense, because it's also not what a man would do. A man's smart enough to say, okay, listen, a lot of the women out there, roll? No, we can find somebody else. I imagine some guys would just say to her, okay, you know what? They see here and like, okay, not much of an interest. I'm going to try to just say hello and that's it. But I don't think anybody's going out of their way to try to go ahead and hit on her and try to go into attach, because she makes it a point. She says she's lesbian. There's a part of her where there's just so much to unpack of her that I'm sure we'll find out more of. Now, how about the part of where guys are seeing this happening and that this happened here? Let's get to the point of where we really are with this. That, I mean, it shouldn't be like this, that we have to deal with this at all, but it did happen. And it's unfortunate. I don't like seeing all this happening, but we get the story here, but we don't see that she got hit with a brick, but she obviously did get hit with something. And so I don't know what else I'm going to say that could really be said that hasn't already been said. But obviously there's people that are talking about this and saying that when you look at what happened here and what she's gone through, what are guys supposed to do in the situation that everybody's been talking about? Protecting women no matter what. If they're not attached, like the guy has to be rescuing the damsel in distress, even though the damsel in distress supposedly doesn't want anything to do with the guy or a guy helping her out. But then when she gets attacked, she expects someone to still come and to the call of duty and come rescue her from her despair. All I know is that for me, and I'm sure the guys are feeling the same way, yeah, they don't want to be involved. Part of the things that was a lot of good arguments we made where guys would say, well, I got a wife or I got kids and I got, a girlfriend. And would they want me to go ahead and be involved in trying to help a girl that goes into this situation where if he saw the guy with a brick in hand ready to throw it at her or somebody, like that's a deadly situation. It's a dangerous situation. Do they want to get caught up in that? If they do something to go ahead and pacify the guy and stop him from using the brick, and then the guy gets caught with something, and it's a matter of, okay, a lot of black men in the open, and one of the guys has a brick, and then there are two guys that are wrestling each other, fighting each other. Well, the cops are not going to go ahead and pick one or the other. They're going to probably go ahead and arrest both. And then what happens then? Like, what kind of what consequences could happen from intervening in something that they're not even involved with? It's not their business. That's the other problem. It's none of my business, right? Not my yard. So why would we go ahead and see anything being done here to go with that? And that's the part that is disturbing. But like, I understand that women would want to go ahead and feel like that. But you know what? We have women that are feminists that they don't want a guy's help. They don't want someone to be rescued. They do not want to be the rescued. They don't want to be the damsel in distress. They don't want to be considered submissive or vulnerable or weak, because modern feminism doesn't allow it. It's a power dynamic, a control dynamic. And then on top of that, power and control and full autonomy. That I do what I want when I want. Like, it's the whole Maury Povich thing. Remember when we used to have that, right? Where you would have young teenagers that would go ahead and have sex with older guys. I'll do what I want. You know, the whole Eric Cartman thing on the South Park, right? They make that whole point. Well, there's still that attitude now. Some of these young girls that might have been on Maury Povich or other places like that, or Jerry Springer for that matter, now they're on social media. We don't have these shows to go ahead and, you know, laugh and be entertained by. Now they're on social media and it's encouraged more so than ever. It's acceptable behavior. And for ladies, if you realize, if you follow the path this young lady does, listen, there's a part of her path that is wonderful and commendable. Ivy League student, getting her PhD, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. Writing a book about past with her mother, her Somali mother, and her family, and the hardships and the plight they went through during a civil war in Somalia in the 1990, right? The whole thing in Mogadishu. I commend all that. But does that also look bad on your family to go ahead and be twerking and putting all this kind of Western culture and this whole mindset that you feel good about because, and you know, if with your family, with your mom, with your parents, with your cousins, aunts, you know, anybody else in your family, the woman in your family, you know, coming from a traditional African country, what would they go ahead and look at when they see you doing all this here, being a lesbian, being a modern feminist and having all these different ideals? I mean, I'm not judging it, because in America, there's no judging of it. That's just the normal society. But in another country that doesn't have anything like this, you know, she's doing it on her own. Doesn't she realize that might be alienating her family or her culture? I mean, from any Somalians, the immigrants that are in the country that see this and they see her, what are they going to feel about her? I don't think they'll look too highly of her because of that. But the other thing too is that she also wants to live off this point. I mean, she's monetizing it. She's making it a point that that's what her life is. That's what she wants it to be. So there's a couple of other stories I want to bring up before we go and wrap things up. This is the story I was going to go into beforehand because it was just so compelling. A podcaster defending on why she asks men to see their bank accounts on the first date. Wow. So Sophia Franklin talked about this. I'm going to go ahead and play this real quick and let people hear all of this. So check this out. Why she thinks she needs to see a man's bank account before on their first date. Here we go.
Like, why do you ask for that?
Because I only want to date a wealthy guy that has money.
Valid. So you're getting straight to the point.
I think, you know, I have a job. I'm very successful. So I think I have every right to be like, hi, are we on the same level, or am I wasting my time?
There you go. It was a Sophia with an F episode released on August 24th. She revealed to Leo Skepti, Sophia Franklin, here's her name, the last 3 men she dated, she asked for this information, their bank account info. So she's a fellow influencer, answered back by reserving her judgments. I don't judge people's actions. I look at the intention behind it. So, like, why do you ask for that? And then she goes along and says that, could I have $1 billion? One person comments about this and says, could I have $1 billion if she asks us, I'm leaving and I'm not paying for the date, LOL. Someone else writes, someone else responded with, when you talk to an old married couple at no point do they talk about money. Memories, kids, possibly grandkids, friends, trips, funny stories. Another person writes, you have tons of money. Why does it matter what he makes? And so they make the point that for Franklin, she says it doesn't seem to be about gold digging. Instead, she wants someone who's going to match her energy or even her bank account, and that's a completely valid request. Similarly, anyone that wants to prioritize other things in their partner is completely valid as well, according to this YourTango.com article. While everyone who's single is on the hunt for a new partner, whatever they're searching for is a matter of subjectivity. No matter how superficial it may seem, beauty is an eye of the beholder, and Franklin shouldn't be criticized for wanting someone who with money like she has. Well, I don't think you have to ask the bank account. That's where we get the whole idea of you find a way to go ahead and, you see his house. You see where he lives. You see what they do. You go take a vacation together. You test him on what kind of income does he have. But the flat out bank account question, that's a stretch. If you want to know that he's well off and he matches your income, I guess there's a way of doing that. But here's the other thing too, a bank account. How about investments? See, she's asked for the bank account. And, most women, most guys, if they're smart enough with that level of money, they're not putting the money in a bank account and letting it sit with no interest. They're investing it. They're putting it into property. They're putting it into income property. They're putting it into investments. They're putting it into stocks, into gold, into precious metals, or whatever else they're investing in actual assets, not money in the bank. So, Sophia, I can understand your question, and I can understand why you want that justification. You want that standard met, but you could get to it a better way. And a bank account just sounds like a bad question because it doesn't really say anything about investing. You just don't have to go that route. I get what she's trying to do, but I think the criticism is warranted because, what guys are going to be willing to do that after all? So, it doesn't make sense to me at all. And one other story I saw on here from New York Post, I just thought was really weird. Remember how we used to have, there used to be back, what was in the 2000s, I think it was? There was a thing where, there was a service where women would go ahead, the beautiful woman would cuddle and lie in bed with the significant, another person. And it was a charge that would be made for it. So not like going to a massage parlor or going to a brothel or a strip club. No, a woman would go ahead and get into bed with a guy fully clothed, but lie there and coddle and spoon said man or woman. Now we're getting hot bedding. H. Grace from the New York Post writes about that a young lady who gets an extra $600 a month by renting out the unoccupied side of her mattress, where her ex-boyfriend once slept for 2 years. It's part of the hot bedding trend. And hot bedding is said to be excellent for people who want to detach emotionally and sleep next to another person in a completely respectful and non-strings attached manner. Now, Monique Jeremiah, who's the 36-year-old entrepreneur from Queensland, Australia, told Cater's News. And she goes in and talks about this. And, she has her bedroom as a comfortable, beautiful room the size of a 5-star hotel suite. And by the way, she's also the founder of Diversity Models, an agency that specializes in providing curvy, cultural, and mature age models for businesses. And she started leasing out her boudoir at the onset of the pandemic as an effort to supplement her income and enjoy some much-needed companionship. Hot bedding. Oh, God. Where are we getting to? This is where I feel like I need to continue to go with my campaign and make the point when we see this here. Everybody's angry here. Everybody's upset. What the hell's going on? We shouldn't have all this going on. Poor Roe Bash should not be getting hit in the head. I don't think it was a brick, because if it was a brick, I think it probably would have left more damage. But she got hit with something, because there's something where it looks like the veins popped or something like that. And she definitely got an injury that was done by something blunt. A blunt force object hit her on the side of her head, and she has left with a mark. And, I don't know if it's a concussion, but it's a pretty nasty bruise. And that's unfortunate for her, and that's too bad. But I also just feel bad for her because I think she's gone through so much that there's not a lot of understanding as to why and why this all happened to her. But, can only wish for the best. And guys, just realize the only way to take rejection is just to move along. As soon as you hear the rejection, just go away. And don't sit around for a woman to go ahead and slap you for that. And if you're getting slapped in the face, unless there's a mental issue, there shouldn't be anything that you should be doing when you get rejected to warrant that either, right? But anyways, what you should be doing instead is keep getting rejected, and maybe, just maybe, you're going to find a young lady down the line that will not be upset, not be a feminist, not be angry, that maybe she'll be a little depraved and debaucherous.